Now this is made like a bottle shape, but instead of leaving an opening like for a vase, I'm going to close it all the way off. Then I'm going to push in this groove, which is going to create the gallery. Now we're going to collar it in. It wants to be wet and the wheel moving pretty quickly. You start to press it inward. This is the way I do it. I was taught a long time ago how to do this. Once you start pressing it inward, as soon as your fingertips get to the top, put your first finger of your right hand inside and extend your fingers outwards, all of them. So your hand goes from this position to this position. Once you have that happening, you're going to compress the clay between these two fingers, use all your fingertips, and draw everything inward. Again, that's one of those things you have to practice a bit. Now, shaping the piece is something you pretty much do before you close it off. There's still a very small hole in there. I'm going to lean over to my right and look at the profile. And right now, this is too tall for my taste. So I'm going to press it downward. It's getting a little better. And now close it off completely. Okay, I like this shape. Now this extra clay that was up here that I just pinched off, you could have left it there for a knob, but I can fit my hand around this, so knob's not terribly necessary. I'm now going to take this blunt end of this chopstick. It's sort of squared off, but it could be round. Small dowel will do. I'm going to go down from this point about an inch. Press the stick in to the side of the pot. But notice something. I'm not sticking it in at a right angle. I'm pressing it and slowly turning it in. I'm trying to pressure that wall inward. When it's about 1/4 of an inch deep, we stop. Pick it up and set it aside. Now, something you've got to do before you let it dry. You've got a balloon of clay here. Up underneath this little neck, I'm going to make a tiny little hole or a little slice. As this clay shrinks down during its drying, the air will escape through that little hole. If you don't do that, you'll find it's cracked on the top tomorrow morning. Now I'm going to cut this apart, but first I'm going to finish the foot area. Get rid of the sharpness. I'm going to set it on my hollow chuck and try and level it and center it. It's not easy, but it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm just dealing with this little edge right here. Now I'm just going to push down on it to create the bevel instead of trimming it away. And there's a reason for that. I want this little kick out right here. It'll stop a runny glaze from flowing off the pot later on in the firing. I'm going to do one more thing. Sometimes we make a couple little indentations on either side. You can use a dowel. I'll show you two different ways. Or in this case, I'm going to use a cheese slicer. Now this old cheese slicer has a piece of wiggle wire put in place of the straight wire. And it gives me a pattern. So I'm just going to put it in here and pull it out of there. Really simple. Slightly soften these edges a bit. And so it gives you this little insinuation of a little alcove under there. It lightens the look of the pot. It lifts it from the table, which is another reason why we put a bevel down here, to separate the pot, no matter what it is, a bowl or a pitcher or a storage jar, from the table. Creates a shadow. Now here's the one with just a little dent. That's not very much of a dent. So let's call them a little mouse hole. Again, it just creates a little added visual interest to the foot of the pot. Okay, now we're going to separate this up here. I'm going to set it in place and center it, again, on top of my chuck. I'm now going to take a needle tool, or you can use a knife, and I'm going to go to the top of the little neck inside here that we created when we threw the pot. You just have to let it slowly grind its way through the wall. Carefully. Okay, we've got a lid and a pot. First thing I'm going to do is finish this edge. Now I'm going to sit this inside, holding it with my fingertip right at the base, inside. Now I'm trying to clean up this inside edge to fit over the little neck we created. And usually it doesn't happen the first time out. We're close, but not there yet. Now notice something. I haven't involved water yet, but I'm about to. Okay, now we've got to clean them up completely. Little damp sponge and a little damp sponge. Now there's one thing about this project that surprised me when I first started to make them. Most of them were cracking, and they were cracking right here, right at the very center. And the reason for that is we torque the clay when it's spinning on the wheel. We hold it back with our fingertips and we twist it. So there's a lot of stress right here. My solution to stopping that cracking, called an S-crack, is dampen it, put a small, little tiny piece of clay right here.